The Galactic Council chamber shimmered with polished crystal walls, glowing softly under the light of 6 suns. Delegates from over 70 alien species sat in their floating seats. Chittering, growling, and humming in dozens of languages. Was a place of power, tradition, and arrogance. When the human representative entered, silence swept the chamber. She was small compared to the others, just over 5 feet tall, wrapped in a simple dark uniform. No armor, no weapons. She walked, slowly, calmly, holding a small black case under one arm. Her boots clicked on the smooth floor. That was Earth's ambassador, a fragile thing of skin and bone. Several delegates chuckled. Others whispered, "Got Councillor Korash, of the Varnak, a species twice the size of a human, with tusks like daggers," leaned toward his neighbor. "They send a child. This species is more pathetic than we thought." The human stopped at the center of the chamber, set the black case on the glowing dais, and looked up. Her face held no fear, only calm. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the entire hall. "I bring Earth's final message." A low hiss swept across the room. "Final." Someone muttered, "The High Speaker." A jellyfish-like being known as Oriluan floated downward from the top platform. "Explain. Human, your planet has refused peace talks for 7 rotations. You're outnumbered. Your kind is done speaking." The human said. The chamber shook, not with sound, but with something else. A subtle pulse, like the air itself, trembled. Then, the black case opened. Inside was a single sphere, no larger than a grapefruit. It hovered, spinning slowly, glowing blue. A hologram burst from it, displaying an image of a burning sun. A Terran voice echoed, "Operation Sunfall complete. Sector 23 primary star collapse confirmed. Awaiting next target." Gasps filled the chamber. Councillor Yeth, an insectoid from the Grellan hive, twitched nervously. "That can't be real. That star lit 9 colony worlds." The human didn't blink. "8, she said. "The 9th burned last night." Councillor Korash slammed a fist on the railing. "You would destroy stars. That is madness." The human raised her eyes. "You laughed at Earth. You dismissed us as backward, weak. You gave weapons to those who attacked our colonies. You watched our cities burn. We warned you. We told you to stop." Silence, then chaos. Delegates shouted over one another. Threats, screams, "Humanity has no right. You can't even reach our core systems. Your planet is vulnerable." The hologram shifted. Now it showed a second star. Then a third. The human spoke. Again, this time slowly. "You built your empire around suns. You thought them eternal, but Earth no longer fights with fleets. We fight with extinction." Councillor Oriluan floated closer, trying to keep order. "You can't possibly destroy stars. Not with your level of technology. You bluff." The human reached into her coat, pulled out a small crystal vial filled with shimmering red dust. "This," she said, holding it high, "is a Starseeker nanite colony. It burrows into solar cores, replicates, and destabilizes fusion equilibrium. You won't detect it until it's too late. We've seeded 27 systems already." Whispers turned to panic. "Why?" asked Councillor Urel, a peaceful botanist race from the Sorella worlds. "Why would you do this?" The human's expression hardened. "Because you didn't listen." Suddenly, Councillor Korash roared and leaped from his seat, claws out. "You'll die for this." He was halfway across the chamber before the human moved. She pressed a button on her wrist. A shimmer of energy burst from her body. Not a shield, not a weapon. Something else. Korash froze midair, body twisting in agony, eyes wide. Then, with a loud crack, he collapsed to the ground. Smoke rose from his chest. The room fell into stunned silence. The human spoke quietly. That was not an attack. It was feedback from your own aggression. You tried to kill a peace messenger. Your laws are clear. Oraluan's tentacles drooped. You came to deliver a message and a warning. The human nodded. We are not asking for war. We are informing you, the war already ended. You just haven't realized it yet. With that, she turned and walked back toward the chamber's exit. No one dared stop her as the doors closed behind her. The sphere on the dais spoke again. Next confirmed collapse, Sector 8, countdown, 12 hours. Outside the chamber, the human known only as Myra stepped into her small black shuttle. Her pilot, a young man with cybernetic eyes, looked at her. They believe you now? Myra didn't smile. They're starting to. The ship rose silently, vanishing into the upper atmosphere. Behind them, the Galactic Council, the proud, arrogant rulers of half the galaxy, were scrambling, terrified, and far away, in deep space, another sun flickered and began to die. Ships moved through space like ants across glass. Fleets once proud now flew in chaos. Emergency transmissions echoed across channels once used for diplomacy. And everywhere, the same question was asked. How is Earth doing this? In the council, war room, dozens of species gathered in silence. Holograms of star maps blinked red with every new collapse. 7 stars were gone now. Dozens of worlds left in freezing darkness. Entire planetary populations had only hours to evacuate. Most failed. Why stars? Someone asked. Again, no one had an answer. They had underestimated humans before, assumed they were bound to their gravity wells, their outdated rockets, their slow technology. But this wasn't war. It was something else. This is extermination, Councillor Oriluan whispered. Councillor Yeth clicked her mandibles. It's revenge, cold, calculated. Others argued. They must have allies. No species acts like this alone. We need to stop them before Sector 12 is gone. Every solution ended the same way. Too late, too slow, back on Earth. Mira stood in a dark control room buried beneath the Rocky Mountains. Dozens of glowing orbs floated above the table, simulations of stars, blinking with countdowns. Engineers moved around her, silent and focused. A younger officer approached. Target, Zeta 4 star, confirms destabilization in 22 hours. Should we issue a warning? Myra looked at the orb. Zeta 4 had hosted a mining colony built by the Valnians, the same species that once funded mercenaries to wipe out Mars' first settlement. No, she said. Let them feel what we felt. Behind her, a wall screen displayed old footage. Cities on Earth burning. Children hiding under broken rubble. Alien ships hovering above ruined hospitals. It was grainy, but clear. Humanity never forgot. But Mira turned to another technician. Next deployment. The technician pointed at a star close to the core of Council space. Sector 17. But there's chatter. Council agents may be searching for our seeders. Mira didn't flinch. Let them search. They're looking for machines. But we didn't use machines, the tech said softly. Myra simply nodded. Deep inside Sector 17, a single human drifted inside a stealth pod no larger than a closet. His name was Lt. Kale Harrow. His pulse was slow, breathing measured. The pod was dark, no lights, no heat, no signal. It was alive, only in one way. Kale himself. He carried no weapons, no radio, just a vial of shimmering red dust tucked behind his ribcage, inserted during his last surgery. Kale opened his eyes. Through the window, the star filled his vision. Huge, burning, untouched. he whispered, beginning breach. His fingers tapped on the organic pad inside the pod. Tiny needles pierced his wrist. The nanites injected into his bloodstream activated. They weren't coded to attack machines. They were meant for stars. Kale's body began to heat, gently at first, then rapidly, but he did not scream. He had volunteered, one life for one star. Counselor Irel, from the peaceful Sorella species, watched the chaos unfolding and felt a deep fear growing. Not fear of death, but fear of understanding. Too late. She traveled secretly to Earth. Her vessel, small and unmarked, entered the Sol system quietly. Earth's defenses picked it up in seconds. Satellites scanned her ship, marked her ID, and surprisingly, allowed her to land. A delegation greeted her. No weapons, but all eyes sharp, watchful. She was taken underground. Not to a prison, to a garden. Earth still kept gardens, even now. There, Mira waited. Irel bowed her leafy head. I come with no demands. Then you're the first, Mira said. I need to understand. What made your kind change? Myra looked at the flowers, blooming nearby, bright yellow, soft petals. We didn't change. We remembered. Remembered what? Mira met her eyes. What happens when we're ignored? When we're pushed? When we have nothing left to lose? Aurel hesitated. But sons, you're wiping out entire systems. There are innocents there. Myra didn't blink, so were we. The Sorellan side, there's another way. We can negotiate. Mira turned away. That offer expired 50 years ago. As Irel prepared to leave, she asked one last question. What do you call it? This operation? Mira paused. Project Genesis, she said. Genesis. But that means birth, not destruction. Mira nodded slowly. Exactly. Far away, in the blackness of Sector 17, Kale Harrow's pod split open. His body, lifeless now, floated gently as the red dust spilled into the gravitational pull of the star. Microscopic particles, alive and replicating, began their silent work. The star pulsed once, twice, then it shuddered back at the council war room. Alarms screamed. Councillor Oraluan watched the red dot on the star map blink, then vanish. The room fell into stunned silence. Another son had died. They were beginning to understand now, but they were far too late. A message went out across the galaxy. A direct broadcast from the Galactic Council, played on every channel, every station, in every system. This is an emergency declaration, Councillor Oriluan said, voice heavy. We call for a ceasefire. With humanity, we seek immediate talks. The attacks must stop. Too many lives have already been lost. Please, respond. It was the first time the Council had ever begged. They waited. 1 hour. Nothing. 3 hours. Still silence. At the 6-hour mark, a message came, not to the Council, but to every starport, outpost, and news station. It was a simple audio recording, broadcast across open space. You ignored us when we asked for peace. You mocked us when we offered help. Now, you ask for mercy. Mercy was Phase 1. Welcome to Phase 2. The line ended. Councillor Karash's replacement, a scaled warrior, named Trelonok, slammed his claws into the console. They mock us again. We should strike Earth directly. Wipe them out. Oraluan looked at him, tired. With what? Our fleets are scattered. Our colonies are burning. Our sons are dying. Trelonok snarled. Then give me a stealth team. I'll burn their command to the ground. He got his wish. A team of elite infiltrators, skilled in psionics, cloaking, assassination, was sent to Earth. They arrived silently, landing in the dead of night, near the Rocky Mountains. They moved like shadows, slipping through the forest, toward a hidden entrance. But Earth had changed. The ground beneath their feet shifted suddenly. A soft pulse went through the soil. And then, the mountain came alive. Trees folded inward, rocks moved, and from the shadows, humans appeared without weapons, without armor, just standing there, waiting. One of the infiltrators stepped forward, drawing a blade of light. A human girl, no older than 20, raised a hand, and the blade turned to dust. The infiltrator froze. "What is this?" The girl spoke softly. "You thought we only evolved technology. You never thought we evolved ourselves." One of the others lunged at her. Too fast for most species to follow. But the human moved even faster. Her hand tapped his chest. He dropped instantly, paralyzed. "We were always clever," she said. "But cleverness wasn't enough. So we changed. Adapted." "You're augmented?" the team leader asked. She shook her head. "No, we're upgraded. They never made it to the bunker." Not a single one returned. Inside the command chamber, Mira watched it all on a silent screen. A soft voice spoke from behind her. "Phase 3 is ready." She turned. A man stepped forward, bald eyes glowing faintly blue. He was once an astrophysicist. Now, he was something else. "Are you sure?" she asked. He nodded. "The Council doesn't understand. They think we're striking out of anger. But this isn't about rage anymore. It's about balance." Mira looked at the board. So many stars blinking red. "We give them one more chance," she said. "One message, no threats, just truth." The man raised an eyebrow. "You think they'll listen now?" She didn't answer. She just tapped a button. A new message began broadcasting. "Message from Earth. Final declaration: we don't want to rule you. We don't want revenge. We want silence. You took our voice. Now we take your light. Withdraw from our borders. Stop mining near Sol. Stop arming our enemies. Leave us alone, or lose your sky." The message ended. No weapons, no war music, just words. Some species began evacuating systems near Sol. Others laughed and called it weakness. But they wouldn't laugh for long. In Sector 31, a Council-controlled star began showing strange patterns, pulsing like a heartbeat. They sent a science vessel. It never returned. The next day, the star exploded, not like a normal supernova, but silently, as if it had been unmade. No debris, no light. Just gone. Councillor Irel stood in her quiet quarters, watching the data come in. Her heart, if it could be called that, felt heavy. She had spoken with Myra. She had seen the truth in the humans' eyes. "They won't stop," she whispered. Then she did something no councillor had done before. She resigned. Irel of Sorella officially breaks from the Council. Her transmission said, "We will no longer support this madness. We offer peace to Earth, real peace." Her words reached Earth. Mira watched the transmission, quiet, still. And then, finally, she smiled. "We have our first seed," she said. The man beside her tilted his head. "You mean ally?" Myra shook her head. "No, something better." In the stars above them, Earth's ships moved. Not battleships, not war fleets. They were seeders, not just to destroy, but to rebuild. Because when you cut down the forest, something else can grow in its place. Something human, something new. The Council met again. But this time, there was no laughter. The chamber lights were dim. The outer walls flickered with weak energy. Power was being conserved. The core generators had been damaged in a solar wave, caused by the destruction of yet another sun. 10 suns gone. 53 colony worlds without power. 80 billion lives in danger. And the humans still hadn't attacked a single planet. Only stars. Counselor Oriluan floated low, tentacles slow and heavy. "We are not facing war, we are facing removal," Trellanok growled. "We must strike at their homeworld, burn Earth to ash." Several others hissed in agreement. Counselor Irrel's replacement, a quiet diplomat from the waterworlds of Loha, spoke. "One of us already tried that. His fleet is still missing." She was right. Fleet Commander Relva's entire armada had entered the Sol system 3 days ago. 40 ships, heavy weapons, shields up, they hadn't returned. Not one. No distress call, no wreckage, no survivors. Just silence. Now, rumors spread that Earth's system was protected by something more than ships. Something ancient, something alive. On Earth, Myra stood before a large glass window inside the hidden base. Below her stretched a deep chamber filled with light, swirling, pulsing, almost breathing. The engineers called it the core seed. Myra called it the answer. Behind her, the man with glowing blue eyes returned. "The Council is panicking, but one faction has started building a new fleet. Larger, faster. They're calling it the Sunbreak Armada." She didn't turn. "Let them," he tilted his head. "What if they reach us before we finish?" She finally turned to face him. "Then we let the core decide." He frowned. "It's not ready." "No," she said. "But we are." The core seed pulsed again, this time with more power. Light crawled across the walls like veins. The sound was soft, like a hum at the edge of hearing. But it was growing louder. It wasn't just a machine. It was part organic, part code, part conscious. The core seed was built using the remains of alien tech recovered from before the Council even existed. Something buried beneath Earth's oceans. Something humans had found and learned from. The Council thought they knew everything. They didn't even know where humanity got its fire. Thousands of miles above Earth, satellites watched. Massive solar mirrors shifted in orbit. Space stations deployed small, silent drones, not to fight, but to observe. Because Earth didn't need to shoot first anymore, it just needed to see. In a far-off system, the Council's new weapon test failed. A star exploded prematurely, consuming 3 of their own ships. Panic spread. Scientists found nanite traces, Earth's again. But this time, there was a message encoded in the particles. "This is your future. Unless you step aside." In a secret meeting, a small group of species, not council-aligned, gathered. Some were old enemies. Others had never spoken before. One of them, a 3-eyed strategist from Drosa, spoke clearly. "If humans can kill stars, we cannot beat them." Another answered, "Then we join them." A third shook its head. "You don't join fire, you survive it." Back on Earth, a child sat inside a dome near the Arctic Circle. She was only 7. She stared at a tablet showing live star maps. Her finger pointed to one blinking red. She spoke softly. "That one next." The technician looked confused. "Sector 29. But it's empty. No colonies." The girl nodded. "But they're building something there. How do you know?" The child's eyes glowed faintly. "The stars told me." She was one of the Echo children, born after Earth's genetic leap. Born with new senses, new instincts. Mira entered and sat beside the girl. "Do you feel scared?" she asked. The child shook her head. "No, just sad." "Why sad?" the girl whispered. They never listened. In space, near Sector 29, a small pod deployed. No weapons, no engines, just a shell filled with glowing dust. It floated toward the star, unseen. 3 Council ships detected it too late. The star's color changed, deepened, began pulsing in strange rhythms. The ships turned to flee. Too late. The star exploded in complete silence. In the council chamber, red lights flashed. Trelawney shouted, "Enough! We find their home base and destroy it ourselves." Oreluan turned slowly. "And when the stars above your own world start vanishing," Trelawney hesitated, "because that was already happening." 2 suns had vanished near Varnak territory. No explanation, just darkness and whispers. Whispers that Earth was no longer just defending, it was cleansing. And still no human had fired a single bullet. Not yet, but the countdown had begun. Ask ChatGPT. The Council's last hope was hidden in a dark system near the edge of the galaxy. It was called Project Eternal Shield. 10 worlds had joined forces. Engineers, scientists, warlords, all gathered their best minds and resources. They created something massive, a machine wrapped around a star, a cage of energy, armor, and AI systems designed to protect the sun from any attack. "This is where we make our stand," said Admiral Kessel, an armored warrior of the Tharn Dominion. "They cannot steal this sun from us. Even humans can't destroy a caged star," added a Sorellan scientist. They thought it was safe. They thought wrong. Back on Earth, Myra stood in the central chamber of the core. Around her, the walls glowed with quiet power. Hundreds of data streams floated mid-air, showing sun activity, fleet movement, alien chatter. The girl from the Arctic entered silently. Her name was Leanne. She said only one word, "Ready." Mira nodded. "Proceed." A signal was sent, not to a ship, not to a drone, but to the star itself. Because Earth no longer needed to touch a sun to change it. They could now speak to it. The nanites in the sun's core, seeded weeks ago, had been waiting, hidden, dormant, until now. The moment the signal reached them, they woke. Inside the eternal shield star, readings began to spike. Alarms blared, AI systems spun into action. Unknown energy patterns in the core, shield integrity dropping, fusion destabilizing. The scientists scrambled. The admirals screamed for escape. But it was too late. The star didn't explode. It inverted. The light vanished. Gravity twisted. And in a flash, the entire system was swallowed by itself. Gone. Just gone. Not even a whisper remained. The council called it the Black Blink. Fear spread faster than light. Oreluan watched the reports in stunned silence. "They didn't just destroy the star," she whispered. "They unmade it." Trelawney slammed his claws on the table. "We have no more time. We strike now." But where someone asked, silence followed. Because no one knew where Earth's real base was, they had assumed it was on Earth. They were wrong, out in the asteroid belt. Hidden inside a hollowed-out dwarf planet was the seed core Nexus Earth's true command, buried so deep in silence that no scan could find it. Inside, Mira met with the Earth High Assembly. Only 5 members. No uniforms, no medals, just faces filled with quiet determination. One of them, a former schoolteacher named Bram, spoke. "They will never stop. Even if we destroy their stars, they'll keep coming." Myra nodded. "Then we change the game." Another elder leaned forward. "Are you sure it's time?" She looked at the map, red, blinking. "Broken." "Yes," Mira said. "Phase 4 begins." Elsewhere, in council space, fleets gathered near Sol for a last attack. It was a desperate gamble. They didn't believe they could win, but they believed they had no choice. 1,000 ships, carriers, destroyers, biowar engines, even ships built from black holes and neutronium cores. They launched, but something waited for them. In the dark, not human ships, not weapons, a storm. It began with small pulses of gravity. odd, twisting. Then came the distortion fields. Then, darkness. Suddenly, every ship lost contact. Lights flickered. Engines died. And then, the voices began. Human. Not alien. Something else. Something deep. You touched fire, the voice said. Now fire touches you. One by one, the ships vanished. The few that escaped couldn't explain what they saw. Some said the stars moved. Some said the void swallowed them. Some screamed and never spoke again. The council received a simple message hours later. Stay out of Seoul. Final warning. Councillor Oraluan called an emergency meeting. Only half the delegates showed up. The others had gone dark. I fear, she said quietly, we may be seeing the birth of something new. Trelanok refused to believe. It's still war. We build stronger ships, more weapons. But Oraluan looked tired. And how will that save the stars? No one answered back on Earth. Myra walked through a quiet forest. Birds chirped. Wind moved through the trees. It looked peaceful, normal. But it wasn. Single quotes, tart. Every tree carried biosensors. Every insect had data points. Every root ran alongside power lines. This wasn't just a forest, it was a shield. She knelt beside a flower. Touching its petals behind her, Lian approached. They're still building weapons. Mira didn't look up. Let them, Lian whispered. They don't understand. They will, Myra said. When the last sun goes dark, they'll understand. Because Earth had already stopped fighting wars. It was now remaking the galaxy, one sun at a time. The skies above the Lohar system turned red. Not from weapons, not from ships, from a dying sun. The Cyrillins watched, in silence, as their great star dimmed, pulsing slowly. It had fed their ocean worlds for 10,000 years. Now, its light flickered like a candle in the wind. Evacuation orders were shouted. Underwater cities powered down. Children cried as the warmth in their world began to fade. No explosions, no warnings. Just the slow death of light. A signal arrived shortly after. This system ignored Earth's final warning. The silence begins now. Back in the council chamber, only 15 delegates remained. The others had vanished. Some defected, some fled. Some had died when their home stars collapsed. Oraluan hovered low, tentacles limp. We have lost 12 suns, hundreds of worlds. We cannot stop them. Trelanok paced in a circle. Then what do we do? Beg again. Surrender. Councillor Zeln of the Zexari stood. No. We send one last message. Not to Earth, to its people. Not threats, not orders. A question. Oraluan looked up. What question? Zeln's voice was quiet. Why? Myra sat alone in a dark room within the seed core nexus. The air was cool, quiet. In front of her floated thousands of images, stars, systems, faces, all destroyed, all quiet now. She closed her eyes. Then the message arrived. From Councillor Zelm, no insults, no tricks, just a question. Why did you do this? She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she answered, why? You asked for peace, we gave it. You asked for knowledge, we shared it. You asked for help, we offered it. And still, you ignored us, mocked us, sent ships to burn our homes, funded mercenaries to erase our colonies, called us weak, called us still evolving. But we weren't evolving. We were remembering. Earth is not soft. It is quiet. You thought quiet meant weak. But Earth teaches in storms. Earth remembers its wounds. You opened the door to war. We closed it with silence. That message was broadcast across every system, not just council worlds, but neutral ones, hidden ones. even ancient ones that rarely spoke to outsiders. And for the first time, the galaxy listened. On Loha, the sea people stopped building weapons. On Greltun, the hive minds unplugged their invasion simulators. On Drossa, the war factories powered down. Not because of fear, but because of realization. The humans hadn't become monsters. They had become balance. Back in the council chamber, Oraluan turned to Trellanok. Still want to strike? Trellanok didn't answer. He was already gone. Disappeared. Coward or deserter. No one knew. Back on Earth, something changed. The core seed stopped humming. It began to sing. Scientists and engineers dropped their tools and stared. The sound wasn't loud, it was inside them. In their bones, in their minds. Then the child, Lian, walked into the chamber. She looked up at the swirling sphere of light. "It's ready," she said. Mira entered. "You're sure?" Lian nodded. "The core has chosen." "Chosen what?" The child looked at her with eyes far older than they should have been. "To speak to the galaxy." The message came the next day, but it wasn't a voice. It was a light, one that appeared in the sky of every world. Bright, white, blue, gentle, warm. Some species knelt, some prayed, some stared in awe. The light spoke no words. It simply showed images, memories, Earth's past, the fires, the pain, the loss, the attacks, the silence, the rebuilding, the choices, and finally, the stars. One by one, the stars humans had killed. And beside each one, a symbol. We asked, we warned, you chose. And then the light faded. Across the galaxy, thousands of leaders sat in silence. On the Council's main world, Oraluan shut down the chamber. "There will be no more sessions," she said. "We were never a council. We were a throne of laughter built on bones." She left. She was the last. Far from any known map, a human ship landed on a grey world. No cities, no signals. Just stone and wind. Mira stepped out. She knelt on the ground. Buried beneath this world were the ruins of an ancient empire, one that vanished before the Council ever existed. Inside those ruins, humanity had found the first seed. Alien, powerful, waiting, it whispered to them, "Balance the stars, or suffer their weight." Earth had listened. The others had not. Now, the stars were quiet. But not for long, because Earth wasn't finished. Phase 5 was beginning. Ask Chat. The galaxy was silent. Not because it had been destroyed, but because it had been stopped. 12 suns were gone. 43 major colony systems frozen. The Galactic Council no longer ruled. Its chambers were dark. Its flags burned or forgotten. No fleets flew. No wars raged. No new threats rose. Every species was waiting. For what? They weren't sure. Maybe forgiveness. Maybe judgment. Maybe something worse. In a quiet system with no name, humans were building something. Not a weapon, not a fleet, a gate. It floated in space like a silver ring, wider than a moon. Energy flowed through it, soft and pulsing. Lights blinked in patterns no alien language could read. Inside the seed core nexus, Myra watched it from the control deck. She was older now, tired, but her eyes still burned. The child, Lian, stood beside her. Taller now, stronger. Her eyes held galaxies. "Is it time?" Mira asked. Lian nodded. "Yes, the core is done learning. And what does it want?" Lian looked at the gate. "To show them." "Show them what?" A soft smile touched the girl's lips. "What comes after silence?" The gate activated. Across the galaxy, telescopes flared. Signals raced. Everyone saw it. A ripple of light surged from the ring. Not destructive, inviting. And then the first message came. Earth has ended its silence. This is not war. This is not surrender. This is an offer. A new kind of signal followed. It was not in any known language, not spoken or written. It was instinct. Knowledge beamed directly into the minds of those who listened. Not weapons, not commands, understanding. Blueprints for clean energy, stronger crops, healing technologies, systems to stabilize suns, ways to reshape planets without war. Gifts, but one line repeated under every message. Only for those who remember what they did. On Greltune, the hives wept. On Drosa, the generals broke their blades. On Lohar, the oceans pulsed with sorrow and songs of apology. Some ignored the gate, others worshipped it. A few tried to approach it with weapons. Their ships were erased. Before reaching halfway, not destroyed, erased, removed like shadows in sunlight, Earth didn't punish anymore. It simply erased what didn't belong. Back inside the Nexus, Myra met with the last leaders of Earth. The old assembly. Teachers, engineers, doctors, artists, no soldiers. Liane stood before them. She didn't look like a commander. She looked like hope. This is the final decision, she said. The core is leaving. Silence. Then Bram, the old teacher, whispered, leaving Liane, nodded. It's not a weapon, it's a seed. And now it must grow. Where will it go? Everywhere. The seed core launched into the sky, wrapped in silver and light. It rose through the clouds, beyond satellites, beyond shields, beyond gravity. Then it vanished into the gate. It would spread, not to conquer, not to burn, but to plant new light, to guard the stars before more laughter could break them. On Earth, Myra stood alone on a mountain. Snow fell. The sky was peaceful now. No sirens, no fire. She closed her eyes and whispered to herself. We didn't win, she said. We endured, and across the stars, they remembered Earth, not as conquerors, not as monsters, not as tyrants, but as the ones who were silent, until the suns started dying. And in that silence, they taught the galaxy how to listen. Ask ChatGPT.